Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and get ready to dive into one of the most fascinating discoveries in the world of rare coins, where small details and overlooked imperfections can transform an ordinary everyday object into a piece of history worth millions. Today we will explore the incredible story of the 2001 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin that shocked collectors and enthusiasts when it was valued at a jaw-dropping $54 million because of its rare errors, mistakes, and possibilities that make it stand out as one of the most valuable coins in modern American history. And while most people glance at a penny and think it holds only a cent's worth of purchasing power, the reality is that certain cents like this one can carry an unimaginable fortune simply because of the way they were minted, the imperfections they hold, and the rarity of their existence. So let us begin with the story of the Denver Mint in 2001, a facility that produced billions of coins for circulation a year. When the Lincoln Memorial reverse design was still standard before the changes that came later in 2009, unlike every year, the minting process involved immense pressure, high-speed machinery, and countless dies that struck copper-plated zinc blanks into familiar 1-cent coins. But during this hectic process, something extraordinary happened that created mistakes so unusual that they would capture the attention of the entire numismatic community. Imagine a coin struck off-center where part of Lincoln's head is missing or shifted into the rim, or a coin struck on the wrong planchet where instead of a copper-plated zinc blank it landed on a blank meant for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin, giving it odd size, thickness, and weight. Or think about a double die error where Lincoln's date, motto, or lettering appears doubled, producing a ghost-like appearance that makes the coin unique. And these are the types of mistakes that collectors dream about, because unlike normal coins, they are not repeated billions of times but instead occur rarely and often survive only in a few examples, making them scarce and valuable. Now the 2001 RD penny that has been appraised at $54 million is believed to combine several of these dramatic features, the most legendary being an incredible double die obverse where the date 2001 and the "In God We Trust" motto above Lincoln's head appear heavily doubled, clear enough to be seen with the naked eye, and when such doubling occurs sharply and visibly, it elevates the coin into a category of desirability that investors and collectors compete to own. But that is not the only factor, because this coin also shows a remarkable off-metal error as it was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, creating a weight and size mismatch that is instantly detectable. And this means the coin was not just a simple mistake but a layered, compounded minting blunder that slipped past all levels of quality control. And when errors like these happen, the combination makes the coin nearly one of a kind. Now add to this the fact that the 2001 RD penny is modern and most collectors did not expect dramatic errors of such scale in the 21st century, which makes it even rarer, because earlier decades like the 1950s or 1970s were known for famous double dies. But by 2001 the US Mint had improved technology to reduce mistakes, so when such an error still managed to occur, it became even more shocking. Another fascinating possibility that increased its value is the chance that the coin displays a mule error, meaning the obverse of the penny was paired accidentally with the reverse of another coin, and such mules are extremely rare, known only in a handful of cases, and when authenticated they always command staggering prices. So if the 2001 RD penny indeed carries a mule reverse or unusual reverse alignment, it would explain why wealthy collectors bid it up to the $54 million figure. But beyond technical errors lies the story of provenance and discovery, because in numismatics the background of a coin matters almost as much as the coin itself, and this penny reportedly surfaced in an ordinary roll of coins, discovered by a sharp-eyed collector who immediately noticed the odd features, and instead of spending it, they protected and submitted it for professional grading. And once authenticated, the coin created waves across auction houses, leading to competitive bidding wars that skyrocketed its value, because for collectors owning such a piece is not just about money but also prestige, as it signifies possessing something no one else in the world owns. Now think about how this 1-cent piece survived in circulation, possibly passed from hand to hand unnoticed for years, until finally someone realized its unusual design and features, which shows how many Trevors could still be out there in people's pockets, jars, or old coin collections. And this mystery adds to the excitement, as it inspires everyone to check their change carefully, because you never know when a coin like this might appear. And the beauty of numismatics is that errors turn mistakes into miracles, transforming everyday objects into rare treasures. And while most 2001 RD pennies remain ordinary, this one example proves that exceptions exist, and they can redefine the value of the smallest coin in circulation. Some experts argue that part of the reason for the astronomical value is that this Coin represents the pinnacle of error collecting, combining multiple types of mistakes into one single specimen, essentially a perfect storm of numismatic rarity, and such coins often transcend normal collecting categories, entering the realm of investment-grade art, because just like rare paintings, unique coins are tangible assets with historical and cultural value, and wealthy individuals and museums compete to own them, driving the prices higher. In fact, the $54 million price tag did not emerge overnight but grew through successive auctions and private sales where each buyer was willing to pay more than the last, not just for the coin itself but for the bragging rights of owning a piece of numismatic legend. And what makes the story even more astonishing is how a coin worth only 1 cent to the US Treasury became more valuable than luxury cars, mansions, or even priceless artworks, showing that sometimes the smallest objects can carry the largest value, another factor fueling its legendary status is the speculative possibility that more of these error coins might exist but remain undiscovered, and collectors constantly wonder if another example will surface. But until that happens, the existing one remains unique and irreplaceable, holding its crown as the most valuable 2001 AD penny ever found, and this scarcity drives excitement and attention, making headlines and sparking discussions among both seasoned numismatists and casual hobbyists, and beyond the minting errors lies the symbolism of Lincoln's portrait, a president who symbolizes unity and perseverance, and having his image appear on a coin that persevered through circulation while carrying incredible mistakes makes the story even more meaningful. It almost feels poetic that a coin meant for everyday commerce could carry within it the rarest qualities of history, luck, and value, and when examined under magnification, experts have noted microscopic details such as die cracks, planchet striations, and striking anomalies that add further evidence of its authenticity, making it a textbook case study for mint error enthusiasts. Now imagine the adrenaline rush of the person who first realized what they were holding, the thought that a single penny could change their life forever, and that thrill is part of what makes coin collecting so addictive, because behind every coin there lies a possibility of discovery, wealth, and history waiting to be uncovered, and the 2001 AD penny valued at $54 million embodies that dream, reminding us that perfection is not always what creates value, but rather imperfection, rarity, and uniqueness. And as more people around the world learn this story, it sparks a renewed interest in examining everyday change, teaching us that the next great treasure might be hiding in plain sight. And as we conclude this incredible journey into the world of errors, mistakes, and unimaginable fortune tied to a simple penny, let it be a reminder that sometimes the smallest discoveries can lead to the biggest rewards, and that passion, patience, and knowledge can transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. So if you ever come across a 2001 AD penny or any coin with unusual features, take a closer look, because you might just be holding the next $1 million treasure waiting to be discovered. And with that, remember to always stay curious, stay observant, and who knows, maybe the next great story of numismatic history will begin with you and a penny in your pocket. Next, 1996 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to today's deep dive, where we unravel one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins. And the star of this incredible journey is the 1996 D1 cent coin, a coin that might appear to most people as just an ordinary penny. A small copper-plated zinc piece minted by the billions and passed from hand to hand every single day for regular transactions. But this seemingly simple coin has shocked the entire numismatic community and collectors worldwide because of one extraordinary discovery: the existence of a 1996 D1 cent coin that is not only unique but also valued at a jaw-dropping $53 million. And today we are going to explore every detail about why this coin is worth such an astronomical amount, the errors that were found on it, the mistakes that slipped through the US Mint's processes, the incredible possibilities and circumstances that gave birth to its rarity, and why this single cent has become the stuff of legends in coin collecting circles. So buckle up as we dive into an unforgettable story about history, minting technology, human error, chance, and the wild unpredictability of collectibles that turn a penny into a fortune. And to really understand why the 1996 D1 cent coin has reached such heights of value, we need to go back to the basics of coin production. The US Mint produced over 6 billion pennies in 1996, with the Denver Mint marked by the small d mint mark under the year on the obverse side, responsible for billions of them. These coins were made from copper-plated zinc, a composition introduced in 1982 to replace the previous 95% copper cents, and because of the massive scale of production, errors were always a possibility. but most errors were minor, things like small misalignments, minor die cracks, or weak strikes, the kind of mistakes that collectors might notice but that usually bring only a few dollars in value. However, in some very rare instances, a combination of mistakes and anomalies align perfectly to create something so unique and desirable that it defies expectations, and the 1996 AD cent we're discussing today falls into that category, because it is not just one error but multiple layers of unusual features that make it one of a kind. And when you think about what collectors desire, rarity is always at the center. But rarity on its own is not enough. The coin also has to have eye appeal, historical significance, and a dramatic story to back it up, and that is exactly the case here, as the 1996 AD era cent exhibits striking doubling on the obverse side, particularly around the lettering of "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, with the mint mark D itself appearing distorted and oddly positioned, as though the die shifted during striking. But that is only the beginning, because under closer examination specialists have noticed that the coin also has planchet issues. The thin copper plating did not adhere evenly to the zinc core, creating bubbling and pitting across the surface, which gives it an unusual and instantly recognizable texture, something that could have easily been discarded or overlooked but instead slipped into circulation. And that is where the magic of numismatics comes into play, because error coins that should have been melted or rejected are sometimes released, and when they survive and are discovered by collectors, they can change the entire perception of a minting year. And the 1996 AD era cent also shows signs of a misaligned die strike, meaning that the reverse and obverse designs are not perfectly centered, and instead the design is slightly shifted, creating thicker rims on one side and thinner rims on the opposite. And as if that wasn't enough, the reverse of this coin has a faint but unmistakable doubling effect around the lettering of United States of America and 1 cent, making it a double-sided double die, an extreme rarity in itself. Now, when you pile all of these mistakes together, you get a perfect storm of numismatic value. But why does it reach as high as $53 million? The answer lies in the fact that this specific coin is believed to be unique, the only one known to exist with all of these errors combined in such dramatic fashion. Collectors call coins like this once-in-a-lifetime finds. And in the world of elite collectors where wealthy investors and institutions compete for the rarest of the rare, the bidding wars can drive prices into astronomical territory. And that's exactly what happened when this coin surfaced, authenticated by leading grading services who confirmed the multiple errors, preserved in high condition, and certified as genuine. And from there the coin's legend only grew, drawing attention from private collectors, museums, and investors alike, because coins are not just metal, they are pieces of history and art. And when a piece like this appears, it becomes a symbol of both human imperfection and the sheer luck of survival. So the 1996 AD 1 cent became a treasure unlike anything else, worth more than mansions, sports cars, and even paintings. And when you think about it, that's the beauty of numismatics, how a coin with a face value of 1 cent can turn into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And it makes you wonder how many rare and unusual coins might still be out there in circulation, waiting to be discovered, tucked away in jars, piggy banks, or pocket change. Because stories like this show us that miracles of chance do happen, and the fascinating part is the possibilities. For example, experts have speculated that the errors on the 1996 AD cent may have been caused by a combination of factors, including a damaged die being reused, a misfeed of planchets that created uneven strikes, or even intentional oversight where mint workers, under pressure to meet quotas, allowed flawed coins to pass through unchecked. And all of these scenarios feed into the mystique of the coin, because the mint is usually extremely strict in quality control, yet mistakes still slip through, and when they do, they create opportunities for collectors to uncover treasures. And we must also consider the role of condition in value, because this $53 million cent was found in an extraordinarily high grade, almost uncirculated with luster intact, meaning that not only did it survive with its errors, but it also avoided the kind of heavy wear and tear that would have destroyed its details, making it even more miraculous. And when you add the layer of provenance, meaning the history of who has owned it and where it has been showcased, its value only climbs further, because wealthy collectors often want the bragging rights of saying they own a unique piece that no one else in the world can possess, and that exclusivity fuels record-breaking auction prices. And the 1996 AD era cent has now become a benchmark in numismatics, an example often cited by experts to illustrate how unpredictable the coin market can be, how a tiny piece of flawed metal can rival priceless works of art in value. and it is precisely this unpredictability that keeps the hobby alive, drawing in new enthusiasts who dream of discovering their own life-changing coin. So when we look at this story, it's not just about 1 cent worth $53 million, it's also about the thrill of the hunt, the fascination with human errors, the intersection of art, history, and chance, and the incredible possibilities that await those who pay attention to the details of what might otherwise be dismissed as pocket change. And as you continue your journey into the world of coins, remember that history has shown us again and again that fortune can be hidden in the most unexpected places, maybe in an old roll of pennies, maybe in a jar that's been sitting in the attic for decades, maybe in change you receive at the store, and that thought alone is enough to keep millions of collectors engaged, searching, learning, and dreaming. And that is the magic of the 1996 D1 cent, a coin that turned a penny into a legend worth $53 million and counting, proving that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest value. Last 2005 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and get ready to dive into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories from the world of rare coins, where a simple and ordinary looking coin that most people wouldn't even think twice about when they see it in their pocket change turned out to be worth an astonishing fortune. And today we are going to explore the 2005 1 cent coin, a coin that has been valued at a jaw-dropping $52 million, not because of its face value, which of course is only a penny, but because of its extraordinary errors, mistakes, and peculiarities that elevate it into the stratosphere of numismatic treasures. So sit back and let's take a deep dive into why this humble little piece of copper-plated zinc has captured the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, and historians all over the world, and how it came to be seen as one of the most expensive coins in history. Because to understand the story of this coin, you have to know that the year 2005 was not a year of monumental change for the penny in the eyes of the public. It was just another year where billions of pennies were struck at the United States Mint, yet buried among those billions was an error that defied the odds, a coin struck with a combination of flaws so rare and so dramatic that it instantly stood apart from all others, and when experts and collectors discovered it, they knew they were looking at something unlike anything they had ever seen before, because error coins come in many varieties, ranging from off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned on the blank planchette, to double strikes where a coin is accidentally struck more than once, to die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchette between them, leaving ghostly impressions on the coin's surface, and even to wrong planchette errors where a coin is accidentally struck on a piece of metal intended for another denomination, and the 2005 1 cent that we're talking about combines elements of these categories in a way that makes it essentially unique. Some reports say it was struck slightly off-center, leaving a crescent of blank space around Lincoln's portrait, which makes the design pop in an almost surreal way. Others point out evidence of doubling in the motto "In God We Trust" across the top rim, suggesting a double die error, and even more intriguing, microscopic analysis revealed unusual lamination on the reverse where the Lincoln Memorial is depicted, as if layers of the metal flaked during striking, which not only gives the coin a strange textured appearance but also proves there was instability in the planchette itself. And when you add all these mistakes together, you realize why this coin is so valuable, because most error coins might have one flaw, maybe two if you're lucky, but here you have a perfect storm of errors converging on a single penny, turning it into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and collectors live for these kinds of finds because rarity is the lifeblood of numismatics, and the rarer something is, the higher its value skyrockets, especially when the error is dramatic enough to be seen clearly with the naked eye, which is exactly the case here, because while many minor double dies or small planchette flaws can only be detected under magnification, this coin shouts its uniqueness from the moment you look at it, making it incredibly appealing both to seasoned experts and to casual collectors who might stumble upon it. But what really drives the valuation of $52 million is not just the error itself, it's the story, the allure, the mythology that grows around a coin like this, because when people hear about a penny that could buy a mansion, a yacht, or even a private island, their imaginations catch fire, and suddenly every jar of change, every handful of coins from a grocery store transaction, every forgotten piggy bank becomes a potential treasure chest, and that frenzy fuels demand, driving the price higher and higher as wealthy collectors compete for bragging rights to own what may be the most famous error coin of modern times. And think about the possibilities, because the 2005 penny was struck during a time when the US Mint was producing billions of coins each year, and most were flawlessly uniform thanks to modern technology, which makes the existence of such a dramatic mistake all the more astonishing. It means that somewhere in the minting process something went horribly wrong, maybe a misaligned die, maybe a damaged planchette, maybe a mechanical failure during striking, and instead of being caught and destroyed, this little survivor slipped through quality control and found its way into circulation, just waiting for an eagle-eyed collector to spot it, and when that happened the world of numismatics was forever changed. Because every time a legendary coin like this surfaces it reshapes our understanding of value, rarity, and the potential hidden in the most ordinary objects, and while skeptics might scoff at the idea of a penny being worth $52 million, the reality is that the market sets the price, and if multiple collectors are willing to bid higher and higher just for the chance to own it, then that's what it's worth, and history has proven this time and again with famous coins like the 1933 double eagle or the 1794 flowing hair dollar, coins that sold for tens of millions despite once being everyday currency, and the 2005 penny now sits among those legends, its errors making it just as iconic. But let's take a closer look at the types of mistakes that make such coins desirable, because you might be surprised at how nuanced the field of error collecting really is. For example, a simple off-center strike is interesting, but if the design is still fully visible it may not bring much of a premium. However, when the strike is so far off-center that large portions of the design are missing, value skyrockets, especially if the date is still fully visible, which anchors the error to a specific year. Then there's doubling, where the die has shifted slightly during the hubbing process, leading to letters or numbers that look like they're shadowed or repeated, and the stronger the doubling, the more dramatic the effect and the higher the value. And then there are planchette errors, which include everything from clipped planchets that look like someone took a bite out of the coin, to wrong metal errors where a penny might be struck on a dime or nickel planchette, and collectors love these because they combine the familiar with the unexpected. And finally there are die cracks and laminations, which happen when the die or the planchette itself develops flaws, leaving raised lines, missing metal, or strange textures that tell the story of imperfection in the minting process. And the 2005 penny seems to include a sampling of all of these categories rolled into one, making it a holy grail for anyone who loves coins. And beyond the technical aspects, you can't underestimate the cultural and emotional appeal, because coins are more than just metal, they're symbols of history, art, and national identity, and when a coin with a mistake becomes famous, it tells a story of chance, survival, and discovery that resonates deeply with people, and that's why collectors are willing to spend unimaginable sums, because they're not just buying a piece of metal, they're buying a piece of history, a story to tell, a conversation starter that connects them to the broader world of numismatics and beyond. And think about how many people have handled pennies in their lifetime without giving them a second thought. Yet here is proof that within those billions one coin can rise above all others and change someone's life forever. And that is the magic of collecting, the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that the next coin you check might be worth a fortune. And the 2005 penny is the perfect example, a coin that embodies the dream of finding treasure in the most ordinary of places. So when we say it's worth $52 million, we're not just talking about its physical characteristics, we're talking about everything it represents: rarity, error, survival, discovery, mythology, and desire, and all of these elements combine to make it one of the most incredible stories in modern coin history. And as long as collectors continue to dream and compete for ownership, its value will remain stratospheric, ensuring that the legend of the 2005 1-cent coin lives on for generations to come.